Welcome back to Game 2 of Minnesota versus Virginia. If you missed Game 1, Virginia got the win with a 4-0 game. Going into Game 2 here, Minnesota, we have starting pitcher Harsh Odom. He is an A-rated pitcher. In the regular season, went 6 wins to 5 losses. For Virginia, we have Hudson Ocean, who is a B-plus starting pitcher. In the regular season, he went 12 wins to 5 losses. This should be another kind of pitching showdown, as both of these teams have very decent pitching staffs. So this is going to be another game where Minnesota needs to keep this low scoring and hopefully get a win over Virginia. Let's see how it plays out. Call out here is that Blevins, who is the star player for Virginia, has an increased mojo going into Game 2, which is already scary because she hit 2 home runs in Game 1. Minnesota starts off with Nelson here. Grounder, Ocean is able to field that one and gets the quick out. In this game, a lot of those grounders that go towards the mound end up going past, but Ocean was able to field that one. That ball is popped up. Center fielder is calling it, and it looks like it's not going to have the distance. Ortiz does get the catch there in center field for out 2. Doctor, third baseman, now up. Had a very solid Game 1 for Minnesota. Grounder, Ocean is able to field it again and gets out 3. Just out of curiosity, let me just check here. So I don't know if this plays into this. Those were both relatively slow grounders towards him. He does have a 73 fielding, which is actually very, very decent for a pitcher. Grounder pass first, goes foul. Slow grounder over to first. Nelson will just go step on the bag. That is out 1. That ball is popped up. It does not have the distance. It looks like will be fieldable here. Cano gets out 2. Blevins, as a reminder, Game 1, she knocked 2 home runs out of the park. That one is just caught by Nelson. Beautiful fielding from Nelson there. And we are heading into the second inning with 0-0. No hits yet. So Hudson Ocean here, who is pitching for Virginia in the regular season, got 12 wins to 5 losses. Gets us another strikeout there. He was 3rd on the team in strikeouts at 117, which is actually very high. Let me go take a quick look over at Minnesota stats. Yeah, they only had 1 pitcher that had over 110. Three balls, 2 strikes. Pitch comes in. That one does get past Ocean there. Ortiz fields it, and Minnesota now has a player on first. Hard grounder also gets past Ocean. So now Minnesota with a player on first and second. Intenso is up right now, is their designated hitter. He was able to hit 11 home runs in the regular season. but he gets struck out. Genevieve Powers now stepping up here with 2 outs. Ball goes foul. 2 strikes, 0 balls. Slow grounder. Norton gets it over to first quickly there. Virginia holds Minnesota without a run there. That ball is hit. Powers is able to field it though. That'll be out 1 of the inning. Rodney Craig does have a lowered mojo at the moment. Doesn't affect his bars too much, but any adjustments to those are important, and that will get out too. Lincoln Chung here. Their shortstop gets a nice hit over the first baseman. Lamb does field it, and Virginia holds them, Virginia is held to first base for right now. They do have that nice speed bar, and they do take off. Will they get there in time? They do get it in time. Reed was not able to get a hit in game 1. Actually gets struck out. Ooh, so both teams were able to get players on in the second there, but no players crossed home. Camille Lamb, another player that wasn't able to get a hit in game 1. Lamb in the regular season only batted a .210. Actually gets struck out. Two balls, 1 strike. That is a great swing, but strike 2. And strike 3. It looks like he swung slightly late on that third pitch there. On that third strike. Love Atkins. Another player that wasn't able to get anything going in game 1. She is one of their better players. Will that drift out enough? And it does. Lands about the 3rd row there. That one's popped. Does not have the distance to cross the wall. Hits the wall. Leverage fields it. And Atkins was able to get to second. It's Derek Doctor stepping up here with a player on second, so potentially scoring position here. Ocean needs to be careful. His pitch count is already getting up pretty high, and he walks Doctor there. Going up against Cano here, this actually might have been a decent call. Cano currently has the lowered mojo. Terrible contact bar at the moment. But he gets contact, but it's fielded by Leverage. Going into the bottom of the 3rd. So far we don't have a run on the board. Odom gets out 1. Odom is definitely in a better situation with his pitch count. He starts things out with a strike. Slightly high on that one. Slow grounder. McCarty fields it. 2. Cantor Norton. Now he's stepping up. He's their leadoff, or in the leadoff position there, and 1 in their batting order. Hard grounder. McCarty fields it again. And a quick 3rd inning. So Hudson Ocean here, stepping up. He's going to be starting this inning pitching pitch 49, which is relatively high for the top of the 4th. Pitching a very solid game so far, though. Grounder, Norton fields it over to Blevins for out 1. Beautiful hit. Ortiz does get to it, doesn't get past him. So Minnesota with another player on first. Minnesota needs to get some of these players across home. Not surprise me if they took off. There they go. And he gets there just in time again. So close. Slow grounder, and that holds him at second. Genevieve Powers back up here, has that low pitch positive trait. So Ocean should avoid the bottom of the strike zones. Grounder, out 3. Ooh. With Minnesota, they're not a high-scoring team. In this tournament, they are the lowest points scored team in the regular season. So even getting a run or 2 is going to be key for them. They have the pitching that they should be able to limit these teams in this tournament. But they need to be able to put up some amount of points. So in the regular season here, real quick, Blevins is up. Let's just take a quick look at this. Blevins, ball gets popped up. Does it have the distance to get into the stands? It does. It just gets into the stands to a non-pitchable location. Hard grounder, but Doctor's able to field it. So back to what I was talking about before here for a second. Virginia was second in points scored in the regular season. They scored 417 points in the regular season. Minnesota scored 328. So, a little bit less, about a 90-run difference in the regular season. The ball is popped up. And Powers is able to get back to it. Yeah, so this is a reminder. The regular season in this was 80 games. So that means Virginia was scoring 1.1 or 1.2 points more than Minnesota in the typical game. Ocean starts things out here with a strikeout. Ocean's stamina is starting to now impact his bars, which is always something that we're watching for in these games. Nelson strikes out as well. Atkins had a nice play earlier in the game. Swings on that one. I looked inside. Swings on that one as well. Slow grounder. Norton over to Blevins. That's out 3. This is shaping up to be a pretty quick matchup so far, as this is, once again, quite a pitching duel of a game. Rodney Craig from Virginia. Second up, gets a nice hit, and that will land. It will roll to the wall. But Minnesota keeps that at a single, which is big for them. Harsh Odom here. This is only going to be pitch 44 for him. Gets the strikeout. And Odom also now has that locked-in mojo, which is also increasing his bars with that mojo increase. So let's see. Power's beautiful dive was not able to get it over to first in time. That was still a beautiful dive. Uh-oh, that will land. They're going to send them home. There was a bad throw there. Virginia gets the first run on the board. Mendoza now steps up with a Pyro first and third, only one out. Strike 3. Cantor Norton, 0 for 2 today. Gets under that one, and that is out of here. And that is going to be huge for Virginia. Virginia now with a 4-run lead. And isn't that exactly where Blevins hit the 2 home runs in game 1? That is like a magnet spot for Virginia, apparently. Slow grounder right down the first base line. Nelson, I guess they're saying that he stepped on the bag there. It looked like he was a little bit far away from the bag to me, but that will end the inning. Ocean, this will be pitch 70 for him. He did get that locked-in mojo upgrade, though, so his bars are basically where he was at the beginning of the game. And he starts out by walking Doctor. Doctor was actually walked earlier in the game as well. So now Minnesota starts off the inning here with some momentum, getting a player on. That ball is hit deep. It is fielded by Ortiz, and the player was almost at second when that ball was caught, so he had to run back. Still stuck at first. They also do not have a great speed bar, so they are more than likely not going to take off. Sailor McCarty here has had a great fielding, and that hits the wall. It takes a very advantageous bounce for them as well. So now Minnesota threatening with a player on third and second. And Ocean will be pulled here for Blacksmith. Blacksmith actually played in game 1 as well. That one drifts just foul right down the third base line. That one was called an out. It looked like it might have been a little bit outside to me. But what do I know? Blacksmith, again, is an A-plus relief pitcher. Their other relief pitchers are not great. A C and 2 C minuses. So they're going to use Blacksmith here whenever they can, and they get themselves out of that potentially dangerous inning. Virginia will be starting things out here with Blevins. And Blevins gets struck out. Shipwright here has not had the best of game 1 and game 2 so far. We'll see if he can get a hit here, and gets a nice air under that one. Does not have the distance, takes a very, very nice bounce for him. And that will be a double. Rodney Craig steps up here, 1 out, player on second. 2 strikes, 0 balls to start things out. And he gets under that one beautifully, just over the second baseman. They're going to send their player home, and Virginia now takes a 5-0 lead. Odom, that was pitch 70 for him. Even though he had the pitching advantage earlier in the game, it looks like he's now at the same exact spot, basically. That ball has some air under it, and it's a home run, and that is a dagger for Minnesota. Virginia now up 7-0, and for a low-scoring team like Minnesota, that is going to be a very, very tough order to come back from. So for Minnesota, that now brings up the question of, is it worth using some of their relief pitching? They have one decent relief pitcher. They also have an A-plus closer. But at this point, being down 7 runs, unless they pop off at the beginning of next inning, you have to assume that they're going to keep Odom in here as long as they can. It doesn't make too much sense for them to pull in one of their better relief pitchers for this matchup, unless it looks like they stand a serious chance. And we're about to see here, so top of the 7th, this will probably dictate how their pitching movements occur. So Minnesota starts off this inning with Powers. Powers starts off with 2 strikes and a quick strikeout. Camille Lamb, their right fielder, yet to get a hit so far in these first 2 games. Blacksmith is putting on a pitching show in these 2 games that he's played so far. Slow grounder. Norton fields it. That is out 2. Two balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Nice grounder. Ortiz gets it out in center field. So Minnesota does get a player on. Anything that they can do here to get a player across home would be huge for their chances to make a comeback in innings 8 and 9. Blacksmith fields that one quickly, and that is out 3. So with Minnesota not getting a score on the board there, I would personally keep Odom in as long as he can. If they're going to pull in a relief pitcher, they should pull in one of their C- pitchers at this point. Doctor, beautiful dive there. That'll be out 1. Three balls, 2 strikes. Powers, great jumping catch. 2 beautiful fielding plays by Minnesota there. Leverage here, yet to get a hit in games 1 and 2, and there he goes. He gets his first hit. Grounder between the third and baseman and shortstop there. So here we go. So they are going to swap out their pitching here, and I am very surprised at their choice here. They really should not be playing Camden here. They really should have brought in, we haven't seen either one of them, I don't think, either Ethan Straining or Dimples Yellow are their two other relief pitchers. I do not like that pitching change by Minnesota. But I guess Minnesota's thinking, we have 2 innings left in this game. We do not want to fall behind 2-0 in this series. But so far, that is a rough way to start the top of the 8th. On that same note, Blacksmith, at this point, I guess you just keep him in for the rest of the game if you can. But I know that Virginia would love to have access to Blacksmith in future, game 3, game 4, game 5, depending on how many games this goes to. Anytime that they can bring him in, he is just such a great relief pitcher. McCarty gets a nice hit. That one's going to roll back, almost gets to the wall, and that will keep McCarty at first. Whitney so far through 2 games now is batting a .500 but strikes out. That will end the top of the 8th. So Virginia here, they have kind of their key batters up here with batting order 4, 5, 6. They're going to look to extend their lead, hopefully close out this game for Virginia. It's a slow pop-up over to third. Doctor catches that one. Craig steps up here with 1 out in the bottom of the 8th. He starts out with 2 strikes. And he gets a nice hit. Whitney fields the grounder in center field. Virginia is going to look to extend their lead. Okay, another interesting choice here. I really do not like this decision-making by Minnesota. They're pulling in Garner, who is their dedicated closer, who is a great closer, but this is just not really a closing situation. Virginia now with a player on first and second. This is going to put Minnesota in a rough spot going into game 3. They do have a very decent starting pitcher. Their name is Molly Reefkiller. They're B-, which is very decent for a third starting pitcher in this tournament. But next game, they're not going to have any decent relief pitching for them. And they do turn a nice double play there. And Minnesota, top of the 9th here, they'll need to score a minimum of 7 runs to keep this alive. Blacksmith is going to get pulled here for Edel, I think is how you say that. Let's take a look at how Edel did in the regular season. Edel is a C- relief pitcher, and they have 2 negative traits. So 2 of the negative traits for Virginia went onto the same player. This pitcher both has BB prone and K dud, and that is out too. In the regular season, they actually pitched 3 wins, 0 losses as a relief pitcher. They had an ERA of almost 9. That is a good hit just over the second baseman's radius. So here we go. Minnesota player on. They have 2 outs. Wow, it's extremely unlikely. You never rule out a potential comeback here. Nelson swings on that inside pitch. And another decent hit, but Norton was able to field that one. Virginia with a dominant performance here in Game 2. And so far in 2 games has not let Minnesota score a single run. So this is a dominant performance so far from Virginia in this series. Let's take a quick look at the box score. So Minnesota was able to get 8 hits. They just weren't able to convert any of them. So in terms of player of the game here, let's take a look at what our options are. So Norton did have the 3 RBIs, which I think would put him probably the best hitter. Craig also had a very decent game from a hitting standpoint. Chung also had a very decent game. I think of these, though, Norton has the best, at least in my opinion. McCarty also had a very decent batting day, but being on the losing team, I have a feeling that she's not going to be in the top 3. And then here, Ocean had a very good game, but he only pitched 5 and 1 out, so 5 innings and 1 out. He still may get player of the game just because there wasn't anybody that really dominated on the scoring end of it. I don't actually know who I think is going to get player of the game here. I can see her thinking I think Ocean beats Blacksmith. Even though Blacksmith also had a very dominant pitching performance. I'm going to guess it's going to be Norton, but we'll see what the game decides. Game gives it to Lincoln Chung, followed by Norton, and then Ocean. So that was a good Game 2. Virginia continues being dominant over Minnesota. Minnesota, going into Game 3, is yet to get a run on the board. So they really need to get something going. We know that they're not the high-scoring team. So, again, Game 1 where they lost 4-0, that is the type of game that they're going to need in order to get back in to this series. That being said, thanks for joining me. I'll see y'all for Game 3.